I want to talk a little bit about order. Order in species. All species and groups have an instinctive order. So their species isn't alive without it. They have to find a way, and they all group up a certain way, and they have pecking orders. And nobody's really telling you this because it's huge implications. Human species has order, but they won't tell you. And females don't even know because they don't have any order, only the males. Yeah. So we'll look at a pack of wolves real quick and see the delusions we have. Now, you think an alpha leads a pack of wolves? No, not at all. Because what they show you is an alpha on a hunt, uh, leading a pack of killers to kill. They're expendable. You don't put a leader, you don't put your general on the ground. Nope. So you got to look at a pack of wolves when they got to move pups and all to a new section, to a new base camp, and how they move. Now you'll see who's the leader now. The beta leads and takes front, and who takes the rear, the most vulnerable spot. Where if a bear comes up or an elk, you have to defend it because the pups can't run. You can't run away, and they're gonna die. Some are gonna die. The alpha's back there with some killers protecting the rear because he has to. He has to take a stance there. If a bear comes up, he ain't moving, he ain't running, he's fighting, and some are gonna die. So he's expendable. Your leader's never expendable, ever, not never. The beta's up front, safe, can see good vantage point, and got some good killers with her. It's the beta that runs the pack. Simple as that. So now we get into the human species. Now your dog falls into orders. And I can tell you right now in your family, you'll find out real quick. It knows the order. So play fight. Say, they don't break rank. I have a dog that loves my one son, right? Sleeps with every night, loves him to death. That dog, me and my son play fight. He will come at my son. He loves him to death, but he's going to defend me. Mm-hmm. Interesting. He loves him. No. He's following orders. They don't break it. Now, take you and your wife and play fight. Who does that dog defend? Defends the wife every time. There's the order. Stop thinking there's no order in human species. We don't get this far without it. You don't get anywhere without it. Not in a social structure. There has to be inherent order somewhere in there. You don't come from a cave without order. That means it's still there. No matter how faint, it's there. That dog knows. Now, the interesting thing is humans have order. And females are in no fear of violence from their man. That's insane to me. If you were lower than a man or your man, instinctively you should be able to be taking defensive positions when he's angry. Female doesn't recognize the cues or anything. They'll just come in hot on their man. I've seen the baddest men I wouldn't touch. I would fear of their old lady come up nose to nose, screaming. And he didn't even take a defensive position. He didn't move. What astonishes me is that means his violence got shut off there. That's crazy. She's his leader, and something in him completely shuts off his violence or tendency to violence to hurt. It won't do it. So now you're saying, why are women beaten by men? Because there's a parasite in the system. And these are the murderers of our society. These are the killers of our society. They can make for great people, and they're the rapists of our society. And you need to define them. And if you have one of these as your man, he's no good. He's you got to be very careful because all men should be shutting that violence off. And I'm sick of people, oh, I don't hit. No, my violence gets shut off. My chin get nose to nose. I don't take a defensive position. It's because it shuts off. It's crazy. I should be at least taking defense or holding myself back. I don't, right? All these men don't. It's a certain group of men, but I would say the 15%. And almost all women, if you've ever had a one night stand, you've been with one of them, the parasite. Now, my best friend was a parasite. He is one of the loyalest men ever when he was mine, because men tend to have a hierarchy. He was lower than me. I was his leader. He would do anything for me. He would die for me. That's how fucking crazy it was. And what I noticed too, when he had a wife, is my wife always overreigns like me, like she's top dog, I'm second, in the leadership, right? But that could go either way. Like, I never seen that. I never seen somebody bump their wife like that all the time. I'm like, well, that's crazy. But here it is. What you're gonna find with those men is a man to man. Even though I'm his leader, we're gonna, we have to posture, and we're yelling. We're gonna posture. We'll still fight. The violence is up. It doesn't shut off. He could try to challenge me. We're gonna fight. I'm not shut off on my violence. It's there. And if he tries to challenge me, I want to hit him. Right? It's not gonna go that far. No, he's doing the same thing with his wife. If his wife gets out of pocket with him, he's moving, he's fidgeting. And the only thing holding him back is his own ability. It's not shut off. It's not in the DNA. And these are dangerous. These are the men that hit women every time. I don't. Men like me don't. You can easily pick them out. And most women have had sexual relations with these men. It's like the 15% cesspool of men. And here it goes again. Women have one night stands. They will never, almost never, not saying never we have a choice, but very, very rare to have a one night stand with a provider or somebody like me. It's because of this. I don't know what it is, but that's what parasite in the system. You're gonna have one night stand with almost only exclusively the parasite. Now, that parasite's so close, and I'm so trusted. Now, like, check this out. Now, that parasite, now, if you get left in a room ovulating with your husband or boyfriend's best friend, it's loyal, good, the likelihood of you two having relations in that scenario where no one's going to get caught, you're ovulating, he's going to come in on you for sex. And a lot of times women will get raped or whatever in that situation and never say nothing. And I wonder how many times, because, or justify it somehow, something's happening here. We got to pick out this. And it's easy to pick out. They're no good. They're the woman beaters. They're very unempathetic. Even if the children should shut off your violence, your children, it's not good for them either. If the children gets out of pocket, he's living the same thing as me. That child takes a position and he can get hit too. And these men are violent. I can manage it, but like a woman or a child you shouldn't be raising them because they're meant to have sex with 100, 200 women and find a man to raise their baby. These are the parasites of the system. These are men beaters. Well, I'm finding it's just why don't we study the parasite in the system? Because these men have got to be interesting. What's happening in that dynamic? That woman wants to have sex with that man almost every time. It's crazy. And it's women justify it, but what's really happening to him and her? I found out he had one of these, my parasite under me had sex with my girl way back, teenager years. Because I asked him at the time, I said something odd about something, if he did, and he said no, and I'm like, I left it at that, and I kind of had a feeling, I'm pretty sure they did, but I left it at that. Years and years and years. 5 years later, he calls me up, and he's in trouble, man. He sounds suicidal. Something's bad. So I go meet him. I'm going to talk him off the cliff. Now that question right there drove him insane. 5 years later, he had to tell me if I told him to put a bullet in his head right there, he was going to do it. Yeah, couldn't take it no more. That's how much it affected him. He had to tell me. See, that's loyalty. And loyalty creates guilt in a man that can drive him insane. That question drove him insane for 5 years until he was ready to blow his fucking head off because he couldn't take another day of breaking it. That's fucking crazy. What made him break it? He was my top dog. What's happening there? Because it's more than that. He would die for me all this time. What is going on in that dynamic? We need to study that. I really don't know what these poor men usually have horrible lives. They never settle, and if they do, it's ugly. Like, you had like 205 girls. So it's like, like you could have done better. No. If you find yourself a parasite, don't put them in your house. Understand, if a man's taking a defensive position on you when you're yelling at him and he's having to stop himself or punching a wall, he's probably a parasite. He shouldn't be in your house. Somebody like me will never bring up violence. I don't take a defensive position when you're screaming in my face because it's shut off. So some men will almost never hit because we don't, and women don't fear violence at all. But the parasite is the problem. The parasitic men, the having other men raise their babies, and it's not inherently their fault. It's in our genetics somewhere, and it keeps continuing and continuing and continuing. And we need to study that man because they're the men that beat women in rape, and I don't know what goes over them and how intense it is. It's interesting dynamic to study. I would like to know.